manager.
Oh my God.
I got nothing left.
Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. We are going to be talking about The Dark Place by Brittany S. Lewis. This was the group read for Laissez, Faire, Streetcar. I know
A perfect fit for the prompts, though. Like a perfect fit.
It was. Like, it could fit all, pretty much, well, not all of them, but majority of them. Because one prompt had to be author outside the U.S.
Yeah, that's the only one that.
But all the other prompts it fit.
Yeah, this was perfect for all the other prompts. Definitely unreliable narrator, for sure. For sure. Man.
Yeah. So with this book, it had its slow moments, I will say. It was very slow. I was trying to figure out what's going on. We were like getting introduced to. I called her Hailey, but I don't know if that's how her name was pronounced or not.
I said Hailey too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, what?
Hey, Pat.
But I was like, so we get to know Hailey, and she experienced something very traumatic in her family. But it seems like we experienced some good times that she had with her family and then her house. But then a break-in occurs, and they said that somebody was killed, and her brother disappeared. And I'm like, how would he disappear? It doesn't make any sense. Right. She was like, what, 9 years old when it happened? And then out of nowhere, like, she gets sent to her grandmommy's house. That was the first time I've seen that grandmommy in a book.
It's the first time I've seen it in a book, but in the South, it's very common.
Yeah, like my kids say grandmommy all the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very common. I hear a lot of nanas and grandma, of course, but grandmommy is, I didn't know about it when I lived in the Midwest.
Mm-hmm.
But that's definitely when I become a grandmother, you better call me grandmommy. Like, I love it. I love it. I know my nieces call their grandparents Yaya, which is grandma in Spanish, but I love grandmommy. Yeah. It's just so homey, like, mom type of thing.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. It was so abrupt. You had all that happening, and then she got sent to her grandmommy. And then, like, okay, so what happened? Why did they send her away? But we realized that she randomly disappeared.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dang, you're not going to talk to her? You scared of her? You just want to send her off?
And when she was packing her bags, I initially thought, like, how, of course, judgment set in, which I should not be judging at all. But judgment set in, and I was like, are we really sending her off after her brother died? Like, or not died, but went missing?
Right.
Now you went from 2 kids to no kids in the house. Like, how? It couldn't be me. That was my initial thought. And I'm like, it could not be me. And they're packing their bag. She's packing her stuff. And the mom is like, and mom and dad is like, this is not your fault. And we love you, right? No, I can't tell.
Yeah, from a teenager, from a teenager, it's like, you look like you don't care about me.
Yeah.
You just want to get rid of me like I'm a problem.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But it seemed like she wasn't happy anyways with just her parents and her brother missing.
Yeah. It was a lot. Don't get me wrong. It was a lot on all family members, but I just found it extremely weird. Like, why would you would think that after the brother goes missing, like, you would want to keep her close, but essentially they're like, you're safer at your grandmother's house. And somehow that made sense in their mind. And as a parent, I know my daughter has, like, disappeared from me once, and I'm like freaking out. Where is she? Right. And I'm like, I want her close. There's no way that I, as a parent, like, that was horror to me. Like, a missing kid scared me. Like, that is my biggest fear.
Right.
Is a missing kid. And then next thing you know, you send off the other one. He was like, we're gonna be empty nesters. Like, what?
It was big difference from they had this house that they lived in. They had parties with family and friends all the time, and then the break-in happens.
Then the break-in happens.
But it just seemed like she was going through like so much because she loved her brother, obviously, like a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's funny. It was really weird. But like there was a moment in the book where they talk about spades, and that's like a typical card game for Black folks.
I'm still not good at spades. Don't pull my black card from me, okay?
That's another thing. People will take your black card.
The whole card.
Thanks.
Punch in it. Don't even like nothing. Just
Right.
take the whole card from you.
And they mentioned that in the book. I'm like, dang.
Mm-hmm.
Just because someone may not know how to play, it's like, are you Black?
Look, it is built into our culture and it is built into our gatherings, but if you don't have that family aspect where you're gathering and doing like events and stuff like that, barbecues, you're never going to learn unless someone sits down with you and teaches you. And I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. I don't know. And then her friendship with, I say Lucia, but I know some people say Lucia.
Mm-hmm. I was saying Lucia.
And you could tell they were growing apart. And I was like, I don't even know if I like her. I don't like her friend. It just seemed, but then I also didn't like Hailey because it seemed like she was using her friend too, like taking her clothes, not returning them.
Yeah.
So it was just all bad.
Yeah, I understood though, like especially if you have conservative parents where, you know, your friends have cooler outfits or can afford better outfits and lend you them, I wouldn't want to give them back either.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I definitely was not getting a new wardrobe every year. And there's a couple things I'm like, I can't see myself partying with this, and you good. So I'll just go ahead and take it.
And maybe as a friend, maybe she should have understood that from Hailey's perspective and point of view.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I did wish that she had better friends, but she's not that reliable as a friend herself, so
yeah,
I can't expect much.
She was still learning, but I like the lesson that it shows. Like, not all friendships are meant to last. Not all of them.
Oh no, at all.
Right. Like, I had a friend that I grew up with, and when we hit college and stuff, we just grew apart. We didn't understand each other afterwards because we were different people. As time goes on, as you grow up, you become two different people. You think differently than you did before. It happens.
Absolutely. I am not the same person as I was when I was 18.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the same person as I was when I was 25, let alone 21, let alone 18, let alone 10, you know, and 15, 16 years old. We evolve, we learn who we are. And when we evolve, some friends are just there for the period during that time, right? Some friends are transitional friends. They're not meant to stick around.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you've known them a very long time or not, I don't have any childhood friends, like at all. And I'm okay with that because who I was back then, I was your friend back then, but I ain't that same person.
I don't have my childhood friend anymore. I mean, we had different opinions.
Mm-hmm.
We were two different people and stuff. It was just she was going one path, I was going another. We didn't see eye to eye on certain things, and that was fine. But you know, apparently, like from her point of view, she wanted us to be like eye to eye all the time, like, you know. But I was like, that's not how it works.
That's not.
You take you take your friend as they are.
Mm-hmm.
if you have an issue, address it and try
Mhm.
to, work it out. If you can't do that, then it just wasn't meant to be.
Absolutely. I agree.
But Hailey was all over the place until like she met Sarah.
All over the place. I I was confused on how things were going in the first half of the book, and I can understand why some of the feedback is just one, the slow pacing, but two, it's like, what is this book essentially about? Because you have no idea.
Oh
Um,
no.
other than missing brother and her moving with her grandmommy. It's like, where is this going? I have no idea.
Right. And then she meets Elam, whatever. I said Elam, but she meets she meets him at the party, and then they're like, don't. He like looked at her like he knew her. It was weird. I'm like,
Mm,
okay, so how do you know her if y'all haven't? This is y'all's first time meeting.
yeah, which is so. I found that to be. I let's Brittany S. Lewis writing is unmatched.
Right.
I find her writing so captivating. Even though I didn't enjoy this book as much as the first one, the writing and the way that she's able to write the scenes, it is very descriptive, and I feel like I was there.
Right.
And so when she met Elam, I was just like, I felt the tension. Like I was there. I was watching it happen.
I was at the party drinking some.
I'm like, eyes connect. Is destiny happening? Like, I love the fact that she has written that character. And not only did she write that character with the romance tension or however that they had, but the similarities that they had.
Mm-hmm.
She needed that in her life. I feel like she was all over the place and she needed someone who resonated so much with her, and that was him.
Yeah, I agree with that because even in her first book, the main character met another male figure, and they
Mhm.
became a thing. And it seems like when you go through stuff, you need somebody, possibly with you. Um, and I like the fact that he was just willing to share like his little brother and his mom. They were watching fighting
So hard.
like
That little boy had my whole heart. I'm like, you want to play slap?
yeah, because at first I'm like, Elon, do you have a kid and you just don't want to tell her? Because that was my first.
Oh, the first thing.
Yeah,
Not you having a baby at 16, 17, however old she is.
yeah, because I'm like, because at first he didn't tell her who his little, Julius was. At the
Yeah,
time.
he kept saying, I have to go pick her up, pick him up.
Right, and I'm like, who is Julius?
Not him putting his thing in things that he not supposed to. Having babies. Hmm. That would be hilarious if that was the case.
Right. Okay. But what was I about to say? I lost my train of thought. I didn't like the fact that he was keeping something from her and it triggered her. The lies. And
Oh, and that was massive.
yeah. And I think that's a big part of this book of like how secrets in families can be so detrimental. Like how it mentioned zombies one time. And I'm like, secrets are like zombies because they never die.
They never die. Never die. And I cringe at books. I mean, sometimes it's okay. But if
Mm-hmm.
the whole plot is about family secrets, I absolutely hate books like that.
Yeah.
It's so detrimental to not just the characters that we're reading, but the ongoing future generations, hypothetically. It's so detrimental to families. And it makes me cringe. Luckily, this was not the whole plot of the book because even though he held it from her, I, I felt like she couldn't even handle at the time
Mm-hmm.
anything else, right? She's so concerned about, and then the grandmother before she found out about him being able to time jump as well.
Mm-hmm.
um, the grandmother mentioned something about like time is not what it it seems, or something like that. She hinted to something like that. So she's all different types of confused. She recently got kicked out of her house.
Mm-hmm.
She just met a new friend and his brother, and I felt like she needed to come to grips with what magic she has, essentially. I hate that he hid it from her for so long, but I'm glad he kind of waited because she had too much going on.
Yeah, and yeah, if he said that from the jump, she wouldn't have been. Her feelings wouldn't have been as deep as they were.
Yeah.
But I started adding up some things. I'm like, her grandmommy mentions time, and I'm like, Hailey didn't just inherit, like she didn't just get this out of nowhere. She had to get this from other family members.
Absolutely.
And it started to add up, like, okay, now that's probably a reason why they sent her, like her parents sent her to her grandmother. Because her grandmother went through the same thing, but it's like, how come you couldn't just tell her that? Because she felt alone.
Did they even know? Because I don't feel like, basically what the grandmother was saying, and even though she knew, and talked about the time Hailey disappeared, right? Did the grandmother even tell them? Because nobody knew about the oldest brother. She held a lot of secrets, and I don't think that. I think it was, let me take this. Like you have a lot going on. Your missing son. Let me take your daughter and take her off of that stress off of you, rather than like, I know how to handle the situation. I don't know if the parents knew if that was the case, if she knew about it.
I wish her grandmother had come to her sooner. Like, I wish Hailey didn't have to go sneaking around looking at birth certificates and finding out that she had an uncle.
Yo, that was the moment that happened, I was like, I knew it. And I wonder if his grandfather was the son. Maybe he was too old. I don't know. But you don't know where the son is?
Yeah.
How many other people are time jumping? Is this gonna be a series? Insane.
But then that would be weird though, because then
God, that would be
and Elam would be relatives.
That would be. I know.
But that is true. Like, time traveling is not a common thing, right? Like, so what were the odds of his grandfather being able to? I don't know. It was weird.
Yeah, I agree. Or the guy that she was pregnant by, who went off to war or something. He was in the military, right? That was part of the family on his side. So even though that her son who went missing, that might not have been the grandfather, but it's tied in there somewhere. So where's the baby daddy that went off to war? And his part of his family's line is the grandmother or grandfather.
Yeah.
That's I have a feeling they're connected somehow, because like how in the same city are in the same state. Because she did leave the original city after having the baby, and the baby went missing. She did leave the state, or the city that she was in. So I'm sure it's part of his line somewhere.
Yeah.
He went off to war, and maybe a cousin somewhere. I don't know.
That would have been if she had like an extra like chapter, like of something,
finalize that to make it make sense. That would have been nice.
Because, yeah, her son Atticus, he disappeared, but that didn't mean he was dead.
Yeah, I didn't think he was dead.
Yeah,
I didn't think he was dead at all. So I don't know. I don't know what happened to him. And no one knows, but still, it would be nice to know for sure, because how are they both time jumpers?
Right. But even with her father holding secrets from Heile's mother about finances and he's selling. I'm like, geez, like that's something you need to communicate to your wife about.
Maybe.
Because all that wouldn't have happened, well, though, not necessarily because her brother also stole the wallet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I don't know if I was a wife of someone that I would want to know. I mean, I feel like it would put us at risk, but I don't know if I would want to know.
Yeah, but then, stealing is wrong. But I understood why he did it because they were going through financial bindings or whatever, and his sister was being bullied about what shoes she was wearing.
Yeah.
To school. So it's like he was okay, I need to do something. I wish he didn't feel like he had to do it. I wish his mom or his dad was trying to figure something. I don't know. Or if they told their mom, she might have done something. She probably would have helped out. She probably would have done people's hair more at home,
Yeah, I wonder if she would just step up a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that. That would have been nice.
And it's just, I felt so bad because it's like Hailey, she's this little kid, and now she can't say this to her mom about her dad, like out of the job.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like that's so not fair to a little kid, like
at all. And I mean, I think they did the best they can to keep her out of it.
She just walked in and
she just walked in, wrong place, wrong time type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that they did attempt to keep her out of it as much as possible.
Yeah.
There's only so much we can keep from our kids. Like you walk in, like I told you to stay in your room. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. I felt like at that time he was like, yeah, I should just go ahead and tell y'all's mom. Kids, they don't have a filter.
At all.
They're very honest, so it's just I don't know. But then I was wondering, like, so could her brother time travel too? Because he was in the dark place.
Right. Which was, again, all of these like mysteries. That's what I love about I did enjoy about this book, is that we weren't sure on a lot of things because how did he get there?
Mm-hmm.
If she's the one time jumping, how did this impact the brother? Because obviously he's missing. And it's not until the last 2 chapters or something like that we find out what happened. And it's like, girl, why you make me wait this long? I've been wondering.
Right, there was a whole revelation. Like, hey, and then he actually died. Because that's what I assumed in the beginning when they said he disappeared. But I'm like, did he really disappear, or did they tell her he disappeared, but he really died?
Right. Hello. No idea until the end. But I mean, come to find out, she put him there.
Mm-hmm.
And how, which makes me wonder, like, okay, we knew she didn't have any control over her being able to do that. We knew that, but it was that impactful? Like, what? So, yeah.
Yeah. I felt a little sad, though, because since she had messed up the time lapse or whatever, timeline, her and Elam, they couldn't, like, be together. It was just weird. He was like, once you do this, we might not know each other. I'm like, oh, this is so sad.
My heartstrings. Not only did we have to relive the loss of the brother again, but then the person that we were so invested between those two for at least several chapters, I felt like I was invested, and then you just take him. What? Have you lost your mind? So I was upset.
Yeah, and like, I don't know. I felt for Hailey because she was just going through so much, and then she felt like she was worthless. Nobody wanted her, and then she found Elam, and then now she had to like not have him anymore. And, it was just really weird. But then they meet each other again, like years later. at a party. I'm like, oh, that's neat. That's pretty cool.
I mean, it just, a lot of the book is just, grief.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 3/4 of it, right? Grief of missing the brother and how the impact on the family. And then for Brittany S. Lewis to have the audacity to turn around, give us back the brother, and then take him again. I was just like, girl.
He lives.
Yeah, I was so excited. They were hugging, and she was just like so sad. And then it talked about moss growing out of his body, and I was like,
what?
Okay, what? So he's growing into the dark place. Is that what's happening? And next thing you know, like he, they finally come up with a plan, and she take him away just like that.
Yeah.
Like, you couldn't have been more of an asshole. You know what I'm saying?
I was hoping, like, yeah, he got shot, but it wasn't fatal.
Yeah.
That's what I was hoping. I'm like,
that would have been nice. That would have been nice. No. She snatched that shit from us quick. And now we didn't get that much time with them, like, at all.
And then I was hoping to see, like, the parents, her mom and dad had more growth. Especially when they would, like, constantly have parties and drink, and she didn't really break down what happened to them after, since she did the whole time lapse and fixed it or whatever. Mm-hmm. It seemed like her parents were still the same, I'm guessing.
Yeah. I mean, and it's hard for me to just like be like, okay, well, I would to have some type of growth with the parents, because I don't know what I would do if I lost my entire world,
mm-hmm.
or half of my world. I'm just the oldest child, the person who is, your firstborn, who takes care of the secondborn. I mean, they play instrument. I mean, obviously, that turned the world upside down. Mm-hmm. But not only is it their child, he was very impactful with the family and just our everyday life, right? He was trying to make money for mm-hmm. the family and to help support the family. And so to lose that, I don't know what I would do.
So maybe they blamed her, I guess. Blamed her for his death, maybe.
I don't know if they blamed her or it was just too much that they couldn't handle and be 100% there for her.
Maybe.
I would not, if I was to lose my child, don't ask me for a slice of bread. I have no sugar. I don't have water to give you. Don't ask me for nothing. Not even a smile on my face. Don't ask me for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that I have is gone. And how do you give, like, I couldn't work. I know I'd be worthless. Like, don't ask me for nothing. Don't ask me to do nothing. Don't ask me to call me. Don't do nothing, because I have nothing else to give.
Yeah.
Like, if I lose my child, that's how I would feel.
I mean, grieving, it could be a lifetime. I mean, some people may grieve for the rest of their lives. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, that's a realistic thing.
And it's hard to be. I when they first told her that she was moving to her grandmommy's house, and I was like, again, not trying to judge, but I feel like you should keep her close. But then at the same time, it's hard to be able to surrender and say, I can't do this, right? Mm-hmm. Growing up in foster care, I think that was one of the hardest things for my mom to do, is to give up her rights and be like, I can't parent. That takes a lot of bravery to be like, I need help.
Mm-hmm.
You can't, if you're grieving that much as a parent, how do you perform as your daily duties as a parent to another child?
Yeah.
Or you can.
Or do you really, like, do you perform, or do you really don't do anything? Like,
right. And if you have the support, right? For someone like me, I wouldn't be able to be like, I gotta get out of bed and feed the kid. I wouldn't have a choice. But if you have support and you have family members, it would take a lot to be able to just, like, it is a lot, and you have to be brave to be able to do it, but you have to be able to be like, I can't do this. I can't parent you. I can't give you what you need.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily know if it was just that of like, I have nothing.
Yeah.
To be able to parent her, and I felt like even though they couldn't provide, right, they were struggling financially.
Mm-hmm.
I still feel like she still had a life where they maintain as much normalcy as possible.
Yeah.
Even though she was being made fun of because of shoes and this, they wanted her to have that life where she didn't see, like, even when the brother was talking about the financial struggles when they met again in the darkness,
yeah,
she didn't remember none of that.
That's true.
Right? Mm-hmm. And so they created this facade of just normalcy that it did not impact her until she lost her brother.
Yeah.
So she didn't get to see the struggles that they seen, or that they experienced, the brother experience and the mother experience.
Yeah.
So
anyway, it seems like her brother was the big part of her life.
Huge part.
That was
very impactful.
Mm-hmm. That was her brother, but he was a whole lot more to her.
So much more. I mean, partially caretaker, right?
Yeah.
Partially caretaker. So when you lose that,
you feel alone. I would feel alone, like, dang. Like, I lost the person that took care of me. Like, how do you cope with it? Like, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how I would honestly like the Bernie S. Lewis. Now that I'm really thinking about it, even though I didn't enjoy the pacing of it,
mm-hmm.
I don't see that this could have been better, as far as, because we needed all those context clues for the end of the book, right? We needed all those hints of like her friends and the normalcy, and like, or not normalcy, but like her friends and the loss, the grief, and the daily activities, and how impactful it was to be able to make those connections at the end.
Yeah.
Because, like the brother was saying, like, you don't remember this. You don't remember the struggles. You don't remember the food pantries. You don't remember, like, they shielded her from a lot. And so all she had to do, and all she did experience, was the grief of her brother. She didn't feel the financial struggles, of going to the pantry to get food, or not having food on the table. She didn't experience, having to go to school, work, like the brother did, just be able to keep the lights on and stuff. So
that's true. All
she had was the grief of her brother. And that was brilliantly done. And I mean, now that I'm saying all this out loud and we're having a discussion, like, this is easily a 4-star.
Yeah.
The grief alone was traumatic. And for us to spend most of the book grieving and listening to the grief, not only from the mother, from Highway, and also the grandmother, and her grief of losing a child. Damn. The grandmother lost a child. The father lost a child. God forbid Haley have kids and lose a child.
They all going through it.
All of them. Like, I can't even imagine.
I can't imagine either. But it was this book made it realistic, even though the time traveling is, but it's. I feel like from a child's point of view into still a teenager, that's probably what it seems like.
Yeah. From her eyes of a 9-year-old until she's 17.
Yeah.
We get to see her perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And the writing was just, I loved it. I love the writing. That was my biggest thing. And then we learn at the end that she grew up in Kansas. So love that it's set in Kansas. But she also was an editor for like Hallmark cards or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, what? I see it. I see it, girl.
Right.
Your writing is amazing, and I loved it. I really did.
Like, I can't compare her to anybody else because she's the only author that I know that writes like this, where it's speculative.
Yeah, it really is.
And I know some people don't like it, but I feel like as a kid, I mean, your mind runs wild. You have this whole imagination to make it easier for you to grieve.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And the grief in the eyes of a child, for sure.
Yeah. I feel like just being open with your family and friends. The secrets can definitely kill.
Literally.
Not good. Like it. Yeah, you may not want to hurt them at the moment, but that moment will be temporary. They'll eventually get over it. Suppose you keeping secrets for years.
Yeah, I agree.
Like if Hailey didn't find those birth certificates, was her grandmother really going to tell her?
At all. Like, why I gotta go snooping?
Like, were you going to tell her?
You over here thinking she crazy and loopy, and you know what's going on the whole time.
Right? Like, you can tell her to give her some comfort about herself. I'm like, come on.
That really pissed me off.
And it seems like that's what it takes now in families, where you have to go snooping around to find answers. And then once you find answers and you confront that person, they're like, what do you think you're doing? Like,
yeah. Why would you go through my stuff? Because how else am I going to get the answers? Right. And I think this is what I enjoy about other cultures, is that a lot of their things, you know, whether it's traumatic or not, are passed down through stories. And I feel like we lost a lot of history because we don't pass things down, right? Like, because we don't have these conversations. And, you know, whether it's a mythology, you turn it into this mythical story or not. Like, why are we not having discussions about certain things? And I love being able to sit down with my kid and just have a completely transparent conversation and her ask why. Eventually I'll get annoyed and be like, girl, ask me why one more time. Like, calm it down, you know, chill. Like, you know, and there's certain things that, you know, of course, being a child, like, okay, it might not make sense, but I'm not going to hold you from it. Let's have a discussion when you're older. But I will at least tell you, because, you know, you have the right to know, but
right.
It might not make sense. But still, I think that a lot of things, if we pass down like other cultures and stories and conversations, you know, people won't feel as like crazy.
Yeah, because I mean, you don't want to lose that, right? Because that's what's happening now. People are losing their history. They don't know about certain family members, because you know, because I know it's painful for other family members to say certain things, but I think it's very important to share it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's, and the impact of knowing and understanding, right? Like, if you told the dad that he had a brother who magically disappeared, maybe he wouldn't freak out when he was watching the kids and like all of a sudden the baby goes missing. Like, maybe that wouldn't happen. Maybe he would be like, okay, and he can, you know, raise her knowing such, right?
Prepare her.
Because
I mean, just her first time, like time traveling, time jumping, that had to be scary.
Yeah. And she had no idea that she did it when she was an infant. Like, she didn't know.
No, and then she comes back, and then everybody's just looking at her crazy and scared. She's like, what happened?
Yeah. I agree.
Mm.
I agree. This book was it wasn't my favorite out of the two books that she has published, but it still was done really well. The grief alone, and I it's like that was like hammered into the story, and that's what makes the horror.
Mm-hmm.
The grief.
Yeah.
And how descriptive the writing was. And then not only, like I said earlier, not only do you grieve the brother most of the book and the impact that it has on the family, to the point where I felt like the family was broken up.
Mm-hmm.
The daughter wasn't living in the house. The grandma was taking care of the kid. The mom was just, the mom and dad just living, trying to survive. And the family wasn't as a whole anymore because of the grief. And then you turn around and give us the brother back. We find the brother and you take him away.
Yeah.
Oh, Brittany.
I was feeling for her when she was breaking and entering into the old house. I'm like, it takes guts to do that. Because I don't think, well, as an adult, I'm wanting to go back and figure out what happened in the past when it came to a family member or my brother or whatever. That would be hard.
Right? And then we never even got after he got shot, the body was there. Then what happened?
Yeah.
Did the boy that shot him, did he go to jail?
Yeah.
Was the grief different because the son is not missing anymore, but now murdered?
Yeah.
I have so many questions.
Open-ended. Like, what happened? Like,
open-ended.
They get justice for the death of their son and her brother.
Mm-hmm.
But
So
then
now in a different way, rather than missing, trying to find him. Like now it's like, oh, well, he's actually dead, and our child was there. Our other child was there.
Yeah.
That was a lot. that was.
Yeah, it was so different because then you had the time lapse where she messed up, where her dad was gone and her brother was gone, and her mom was living in her own apartment. It was just like, what? That's when I was like, wait, what's going on? And then she messed up the whole timeline.
Yeah, messed up all the way up.
And it's funny how they mentioned Marvel in here because it makes sense.
So much sense. I love that he was Elam was like talking about superheroes and whatnot, because absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, he's a whole superhero himself and can control it.
Right.
And can control it.
But that's because his grandfather prepared him for it.
Mm-hmm. Prepared. Yep.
He was a master at it.
I thought that was great. I really enjoyed it.
Same. I enjoyed it too. I gave it 3.5, so rounded up to 4.
Yeah, I gave it 3.5 too, but I am gonna round it up to 4. I think it was after just hearing about it, like I think it was great for sure.
Yeah. And I'm trying to remember why people didn't like it. I know the pacing, but people didn't like her first book either because it said zombies. So they're expecting zombies, like real zombies in it. But
yeah, I know that someone reached out to me and they thought it was more sci-fi rather than horror. They didn't get the creepiness within the book, and I think that it's not like a horror where it's a different form of horror where we're touching on emotions, we're breaking up families, where it's emotionally devastating, which makes it the horror.
Mm-hmm. Like even in the Black community with Black families, for keeping secrets,
yep,
and holding in all that trauma and not like trying to figure out ways to cope with it and try to figure out what like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's the horror. Black trauma is horror.
Yeah.
And I think that if people go into certain books with that, then they'll understand like where the horror is coming from, rather than um, thinking there's supposed to be some type of creepy, eerie
Yeah.
feeling. And there was some mystery in it, and it was more fantasy, but I see where the horror is coming from.
Yeah.
Again, 90% of this book is grief.
Yeah. Like if you compare it to Tenanaridu and stuff, it's not horror like in that sense, like her Immortal series, you know. It's not like horror in that sense per se. It's not like tons of monsters and there's
no supernatural being for sure. There's no supernatural being, but it's just like her part of the Good House, right, of Tananarifu, where it is grief and then the house, you know, towards the end of the book it's more like creepy type of thing and supernatural things happening, but Black trauma is horror, and that's what this book is.
Yeah.
It's trauma to a family in general, from grandmother down.
Yeah.
Because they're all grieving. The grandmother was grieving with the first child. The father and the mother were grieving because they lost a son. The daughter was grieving because she lost a brother. And that is horror.
And now she was just trying to figure out how to deal with it
and
how to move forward, but she still had questions that she needed answered. So she had to try to search it for herself. Now it could have went a whole other way where she didn't respect her grandmother anymore because she kept this lie, and her grandmother knew about time traveling and never said. I mean, there's so many different reactions people can have.
Yeah.
You could lose a family member just by secrets.
Oh, absolutely.
And I don't know if that's worth
it. Depends on the person, what they think is better. Yeah, maybe it's just easier for them to lose a person, but I don't think a relationship because of secrets is worth losing over family secrets. I think it's toxic and it hurts, future generations.
Yeah, because that secret, and you lose that family member who didn't tell them everything. They probably won't share or talk about you ever.
Yep.
Their future kids or their future grandchildren or whatever. And so that whole side of the family is a mystery.
I agree. And it's awful. It reminds me of a lot of like the impact if you read Legendborn. Well, you haven't read Bloodmark yet. Not yet. But the family secrets that are within that and how impactful it is. And it goes back generations and generations and generations and generations. But that alone is just, it's why? I get that some people, like, they're a child, let them be a child, let them, figure it out. We'll talk about it when they're older, and it's never a right time.
Yeah, I mean, there's
like, you don't know if you'll make it to tomorrow. Like, who told you that you would make it?
Yeah,
when they're older.
Or if you can't communicate it with your own mouth, there's other ways. You can write a letter, a recording, whatever. That way your family knows about it. If it dies with you, what happens?
And it doesn't help anyone when that happens.
That's
really, I find really just dumb and irritating because it doesn't have to happen.
Yeah.
It does not have to happen at all.
Like with my grandmother, like she got kicked out of her house because she got pregnant with my uncle. And so I didn't know anything about her side until like my sister and I did research on on her side of the family, and we went into a whole little rabbit hole, and then we had a whole revelation. I'm like, what? Just because she didn't want to communicate with us about it, because she was hurt because she got kicked out of her home.
But then what do you do? I mean,
yeah.
put your pride aside, right? When someone's impacting the family, at some point you have to be like, let's fix this.
Yeah, because
I understand.
when every generation is born, another piece of your family or your history is just disappeared.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just glad it wasn't majority. I mean, the grandmother, yes, but I'm glad it wasn't majority of the book.
Yeah, like
That would I would have DNF'd it immediately.
I'm glad Hailey had some closure.
Mm-hmm.
Like the majority of the time she's wondering what happened to her brother. Now she does know. She knows what he did and the sacrifices he made for her. You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that helped them move on.
I agree. I I think that after the brother passed and she immediately goes to grandmother's house and she's like, where's the keys? And I knew she was gonna go after oh boy and just checking on him.
Mm-hmm.
But I was shocked that she didn't take the time to process what just happened. But at the same time, she's already lost him before. You know, she's already had the years to be able to grieve.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't find that super weird, but I was just like, wait, he just got shot in front of her. Like,
yeah.
How are you off running after some man? But she did get to already grieve them. I'm just curious on the impact of the family rather than because their child did not go missing and instead was murdered.
Yeah.
And how did that turn out?
Mm-hmm.
What was the grieving process like afterwards? Because we do know that she goes back to school and meets him again. I also, again, Brittany S. Lewis, her writing phenomenal. I love how she ended it and said, how destiny was a powerful thing, journey ends and lovers meeting. And I was like, I remember that quote. And I put a little tab. And so it's on page 36.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, I love that connection of like, sayings throughout the book. Like,
Right.
that was done earlier. And I remember reading that and I was just like, I love that. And so I put a little tab here. And then earlier today I went back and I was like, yo, when it ended like that, I was like, I forgot, but I just love that saying. And yeah.
I definitely will continue on reading her books because I feel like if you read her first one and this one, you have an idea how her writing style is. You have an idea what her storyline is pretty much about.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like it's a whole process.
It is. It is. She does her writing for me is just. I mean, there's definitely some authors that I'm like, your writing, I could read you all day long.
Mm-hmm.
I personally love speculative fiction, but I truly enjoy just reading this physically.
Yeah.
I'm mad that there wasn't an audiobook for it.
Yeah. After reading it, I was like, oh, I think I appreciated it more just reading it than not listening.
I agree.
Which maybe it was on purpose. Why there wasn't audio.
Maybe.
You never know.
Maybe she just wanted us to torture our eyeballs with grief and pain.
Probably. And just like circles of like Hailey trying to figure this out, but she's at a dead end and then
Yeah.
I don't know. I definitely will read Brittany S. Lewis. I'll read her next book. Because there's not a lot of speculative fiction that I know that is out there.
There's definitely some. I read Isolde. Eslote. Ooh, don't give me the line. I don't want to butcher it, but it's an indigenous author, and it's very much speculative fiction, and that's a middle grade. But there's definitely after reading that and Brittany S. Lewis, and I think I read another one that was speculative fiction. I don't remember the name of it, but I truly enjoy it. And when I was a teacher, we always talked about what is the author trying to say rather than what she's literally saying or he's literally saying or they are literally saying. So there's definitely, I would love to even read just more speculative fiction because I love the mystery behind it. Just trying to get what are they trying to say rather than literally. I don't the fact that things are not handed to you with speculative fiction, I truly enjoy. So I would read more.
You have to have patience.
Button on Goodreads that you can click on to find like a list of it.
Yeah, I think people have to be patient with speculative fiction.
Mm-hmm.
People just want answers right then and there. When with Brittany S. Lewis, her writing is like a journey. It's like she's having you go through all this for a reason.
Right. For a reason. Absolutely.
Another author like N.K. Jemisin, in her books, I'm like, especially like with the 5th season, it's like she has you on this whole journey, confused. For a reason.
Yeah.
You have to trust the process. And like with grieving, it is a process.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's what I love about, speculative fiction. As long as I don't mind being confused, because as long as the reward is there. Don't leave me on a massive cliffhanger where it's like I got nothing out of it.
Right.
It's just all speculative and you're just having to assume, which, I mean, yes, you're having, that technically is her first book because nothing is handed to you and you don't, you figure things out at the end, but you have to come up with the assumptions yourself rather than things being handed to you. But if nothing is answered by the end of the book, no, I don't know if I like that. But I definitely will read. Hopefully she comes out with more books.
I want to see if she had, like, from what I've seen, her next book is going to have, like, well, it could be speculative, but she mentions, like, werewolves and vampires. So I don't know.
But is it actually a vampire or is it a colonizer? Because I just read a book that wasn't about vampires, but they weren't vampires. They were colonizers. And then it's like...
With Brittany S. Lewis, you don't know.
You don't know.
I was just watching her TikTok and how she has, because she loved Jacob from Twilight. So it was like she wants to implement that in her next book where there's werewolves and stuff. So it's like,
How literally werewolves? Who knows?
Who knows if it's werewolf? It's just like when I read Jackal, it was interesting. I like Jackal too.
Yeah. That's a good one.
But yeah.
I need to read Jackal. It's the one book that I just have not read this year that is on my TBR that I wanted to read for sure.
It was really good. It had its slow moments, but it was good.
Authors are just doing the damn thing. And I would just shout out to them. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Black authors for just stepping up and putting their gift out to the world for us to read and critique and enjoy. And,
And next year, there are going to be plenty more.
Don't even get me started.
Oh, man.
I haven't even thought about going through and listing the books, like, and putting and seeing what's out there to create an anticipated read for next year. I can't do it.
I do that. It'd probably be on a monthly basis. Like, maybe in December, I'm like, oh yeah, these are my anticipated reads for January. It's just a lot of research, and sometimes the author, it won't be on Goodreads. You have to look up authors and stuff because they'll show you like the cover reveal and all that.
Who got time for that?
Right.
Who got time for that? I know.
Like January itself, it's gonna have some good books.
Yeah. When is her book? Her next book coming out?
It's not listed yet, so I'm not sure.
Well, I will definitely be reading it. I think that you know, no matter what, for me, she's an auto buy, just because of how much I enjoy the books. And one, the cover. Come on, both covers are amazing. This one I absolutely love. I love the moss. I love the flowers, and I love that her lips are sewn, which again, secrets. Creepy, eerie. The hair looks so detailed and realistic.
Mm-hmm.
And then it says every secret comes to haunt you. I didn't even pay attention to that blurb. Isn't that true?
That is true.
For the book, that's amazing.
That is true. Secrets will haunt you.
That's insane. I didn't even know. I mean, that's so relative to the story.
Right.
But yeah, she's an auto buy for sure. I continue to enjoy her work.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm just looking at our TikTok. I guess it's going to be a fantasy romance. It says, when it's a fated mate romance with a twist, except it's about a Black girl who attends a university in a town known for their legends about werewolves, only to find herself in an accidental enemies to lover romance with one.
I mean, the romance that she did with this one, I feel it. I feel it. I will read it. I will definitely read it.
Yeah. But I can't think of anything else to talk about. I feel like we touched on a lot.
Yeah. I think we got it.
Yeah.
We got most of everything.
Yeah. But this was fun. I'm glad that we read this book. I hope everyone, enjoyed it. I know some people, it wasn't their cup of tea, but overall, it's really good. I recommend it because it's a whole, like I said, it's a process, but I feel like with the character Hailey, she definitely grew throughout the process, and she was her grieving process, and then she was able to have closure and move on with her life.
Oh, absolutely.
Because she had questions about her future, like what it was going to look like.
Sorry, I don't know that.
No, I was talking to you. Oh my God. But yeah, I highly recommend it. Hopefully I will pick it up if you haven't read it already. Or even read The Undead Truth of Us. That's a really good book.
Yeah. It's really good. Just go in knowing that for Undead Truth of Us, it's very much speculative.
Yes, it's speculative. Don't expect to be real zombies in the truth. That's not the case. But thank you all for coming. This was such a fun time, reading books by Black authors or Blackoween. I'm really looking forward to seeing what next year has to offer. But once again, thank you everyone for coming, and have a good night. Bye, everyone.
Bye.